Y'all, it's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right. So shouts out to everybody that comes into the room. You guys already know what to do. Make sure you smash that like button. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. And please make sure that you guys share the video out, because if it is not for you guys shares, the channel will stay exactly where it is, because you guys know how YouTube is. All right. So what we're going to be talking about are three different stories. All right. And we're going to be talking about three different stories about some thugs. All right. The first one is a cop. The second one is just a civilian. And the third one is a politician. Because again, you guys already know how this works. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to my man Vovo to Love. And also shout out to Italia Phillips. You know what I'm saying? And also, shout out to my man Torian Rain for the shout out in his video about Mark La Nasty Ass Tunsky. All right. So shout out to my man Torian Rain. If you guys are not subscribed to his channel, make sure that you guys subscribe to his channel. You will see me over there. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that you guys subscribe to his channel and show that brother some love. You know what I'm saying? So News One came out with two articles that I found interesting, and we're going to check these articles out. One of them is about a cop. Another one, believe it or not, because remember, this is stuff that doesn't happen. Another one who was caught in a recorded racist rant. Okay. The second one, we're going to be talking about this alleged KKK impersonator or KKK member or whoever it might have been that Ron DeSantis hired, and the GOP quietly swept it under the rug. Because remember, if you go woke, you go broke. And that's because the United States Corporation of America's main product is exporting and importing racism and anti-black racism and white supremacy. That's what the business of the United States Corporation is. You can tell that it's very profitable because the United States has one of the largest economies in the world. You know what I'm saying? So let's actually check this out. I'm sick of these black bastards. Now, you guys know this doesn't happen. This isn't true. This isn't real. Racism doesn't exist. How does it affect anybody that's alive today? Well, we just talked about how it affects people alive today when dealing with the NFL. So now what we're doing is we're going to be talking about how it affects people alive today because of how it's integrated into the government. And regardless of how people want to look at it, these individual thugs who are part of the police force are part of the executive branch of the government, whether they like it or not. Shout out to my man AB Promotions, and also shout out to DJ Elmo. What's good with y'all? So now what we got here is I'm sick of these black bastards. That's what the North Carolina sheriff abhorrently racist rant recorded, and it was exposed yet again by another cop. Now, here's my question. Is anybody surprised by this? If you guys are surprised by this, give me a thumbs up. And if you guys are not surprised by this, give me a thumbs down. And also make sure you guys drop some radiation emojis for Torian Rain Reloaded, because my man Torian Rain Reloaded, with that shout out that he gave the Crimecast channel, he actually brought that channel up over 100 subscribers, which is something that I've been trying to do. So shout out to my man for helping me meet that goal. So make sure you guys show some love. You know what I'm saying? I'm a moderator in Torian's streams on all my accounts. I see Jay the Informant over there. You know what I'm saying? I see DJ Elmo over there. I see Shatera over there. Make sure you guys go over there and check his content out and watch his content. Seriously. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, I'm sick of these black bastards. North Carolina sheriff abhorrently racist rant recorded, exposed by a cop. Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green's anti-black racism has been confirmed, and then some. So now, how many times have we talked about the FBI report that talked about white supremacy's infiltration into law enforcement? That's my question. How many times have we talked over that? We actually went over the entire report, which was very short because most of it was redacted. Now, I got a question for you guys. Does this guy look like Guile on Street Fighter 2? If you guys think that this guy looks like Guile on Street Fighter 2, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that he does, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to my man Edward Berry. What's up with it, bro? And shout out to Italia. What's up with it? Good to see you. I got streams popping off all day long because there's a lot of stuff popping off and a lot of things that I want to try to get I want to try to get cleared. You know what I'm saying? Because your boy's got a lot of windows open, and I want to try to get all these things cleared so that I can have some fresh windows for next week. You know what I'm saying? How do you find the radiation emojis? I don't know. I think I don't know. You got to go through those emojis in the iPhone or in the Droid, whichever one you got, whichever one you got. Shout out to Antoine Donalds, and shout out to Steve from St. Louis, Missouri. Shout out to the people who are in here. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says for the past 4 years, the sheriff department in a rural town in Columbus County, North Carolina, has been run by a white man whose visceral hatred for black people apparently became so overwhelming that it eventually exploded out of him like cotton from a lacerated stuffed animal. That's pretty bad. Now, I got to ask you guys a question because I can't remember and I can't keep up with all of this stuff. Where was it where they hired a black woman who was the chief of police and all of the white police officers quit? Was that in North Carolina or was that in South Carolina? And speaking of North Carolina and South Carolina, I got some more content coming about those states because those states have some very interesting issues that they're not talking about in the mainstream media, which they should. And judging from reports, it wouldn't be surprising if he ordered his black employees to pick that cotton. So here's how the story began, according to WECT6. And we'll look at this original article because I think it's important always to take a look at these local news sources, because a lot of times the local news sources have a lot of information in them that is not talked about in the mainstream media. Was it South Carolina, AB? I think it was South Carolina. Yeah, my man AB Promotion says Sonic Boom. A lacerated stuffed animal. That's extremely specific. I know, right? But you know what's crazy? A lot of these people actually lacerate live, actual real animals in their childhood, and that's how they grow up and develop a lot of the interesting, strange, murderous habits that they have. You know what I'm saying? On one end of the phone was Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. On the other was then Captain Jason Souls, who had just been tapped to the lead sheriff office while election officials investigated a complaint questioning whether Green was eligible to serve as a sheriff. So now what you have to understand is that when it comes to these investigations, most of these investigations are racist white people conducting the racist investigations. And if the level of racism is acceptable by these racist bigots, then they actually choose that person and say, yeah, this person did a good job. You know what I'm saying? He shows the kind of qualities that we want. He has, quote, good American values, which is anti-black racism. Okay. Green wanted to know who in the department had communicated with Lewis Hatcher, the former sheriff whom Green had narrowly defeated in his election, and Melvis Campbell, a recently fired sergeant, both who are African American. In Green's words, they had a snitch in office leaking information to his political opponent, who sued to be reinstated until the election protests were resolved. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of these black bastards, said Green to Souls. I'm going to clean house and be done with it, and we'll start from there. So again, this is the sentiment that all of these people have. And it's just as easy as that. We'll just say that, we'll just do that, and then that's just that. And then we have the mainstream media, we have the Manhattan Institute, we have Fox, and we have CNN, and we have MSNBC to go ahead and smooth it over as if none of this stuff ever happens. And how dare you complain about it because it doesn't exist. I mean, it doesn't exist, right? This is just all pseudoscience. What did Bill Mayer call this? Hyperbole. I gotta agree with Steve. If you guys agree with Steve, give me a thumbs up. Black people, we have no friends, but we actually do. Our friends are each other. We just got to start understanding that and start operating like some of these other groups. We do have friends. I'm your friend. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says the call between Green and Souls took place about 2 months into what was a tumultuous start to Green's career as sheriff. Green beat Hatcher in the 2018 election by just 34 votes, at a time when election fraud in this rural part of North Carolina was making national headlines. The results were protested in part over concerns Green did not actually live in Columbus County as required by state law. So now you got to ask yourself the question, if that's required by the state law, then how did this guy become a sheriff? Or is it because we just, we're just going to change up the laws for this guy? How did that work? Yeah, I agree, Italia. If you guys agree with Italia, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. She says, facts. We're being forced into a position where we can only rely on each other, and we need to get used to it. And one of the things that we need to be accountable for is that should have never been something that was forced. We should always operate like that. You know what I'm saying? We should always operate like that. He'd also been improperly sworn in before the state certified election results. So now, while everybody's talking about the election fraud when it comes to Trump and all of that, here's a white guy who actually benefited from, you know what I'm saying, illegitimate elections. And I got to agree with Antoine Donalds. They're nothing more than pussies with guns, just like most police officers out here in good old America. Facts. If you guys agree with Antoine, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Race Flipper. So now here it says, little did Green know that the snitch he should have been looking for was the very man he was talking to, which is usually the case with these idiots. But Soul didn't start keeping tabs on the newly elected sheriff with Klan-like tendencies because he was suspected of being another conservative committing the election fraud conservatives are always going on about. Souls appear to be concerned that Columbus County's new sheriff is the most bigoted Green in Southeast, whose name isn't also Marjorie Taylor, which, speaking of Marjorie Taylor Greene with her recent marital issues, I wouldn't be surprised if he hit that, and not with his fist. Well, possibly with his fist, but not in an unwelcome way. This one particular phone call that I received, he made the comment that he hated Democrats, which we all know, despite the fact that basically most black people, at least on YouTube that I've come in contact with, do not deal with the Democratic Party, which they should not, because they're both, the Republicans and the Democrats are all the same. That is a dog whistle for black people. Anytime you hear white people talking about liberals, the left, Marxist, all of this nonsense, all they're doing is politicizing race. And I agree with Cameron. They should be interviewed by the community that they work in. Oh, that's interesting. DJ Elmo just put a article for police reassigned in mass in the chat. I'm not surprised. Shout out to Ronnie. What up with it? My man Ronnie says it's true. Republicans are pussies with guns. I can tell you guys, I was a child cat burglar in the late 90s. If you steal their guns, they move away. Yeah, because they expect to be able to use those guns without consequence, even when it's not self-defense, which in most cases it's not. They just come up with a phony story. And if they don't have those, they don't have anything. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Souls, who is now running against Green for Columbus County Sheriff, told WETC. And then he said, I take that back. I hate black effing Democrats. So now to make sure to understand, he took that back and made a distinction. And this is what they all mean when they say this. Shout out to my man Cole. What up with it, bro? Good to see you in here. So now I want to make sure that everybody understands this. This particular individual first started out and said that he hates Democrats, and then he took it back to clarify, I effing hate a black effing Democrat. This one particular phone call that I received, he made the comment that he hated Democrats. Soul, who is now running against Green for Columbus County Sheriff, told WETC. And then he said, I take that back. I hate a black effing Democrat. And I knew right then, I was like, wow, this is coming from a sheriff. And I had to start recording these conversations. So my question is, why would anybody assume that this isn't the baseline? We just talked about race norming in the NFL. This is a part of the culture. This is a part of the culture that the United States is going back to. And this is a part of the culture that the incoming immigrants, regardless if they're black or not, have. They've been taught this and conditioned by WS. Shout out to my man Solo T40. What up with it, bro? So now here it says, but the sheriff with the Jim Crow fetish reportedly did more than just go off on tangents that prove that he would have made a better grand wizard than law enforcement officer, which in my opinion, there's no difference because the law that they're enforcing is the law of white supremacy. So there's no difference between a grand wizard and a law enforcement officer. They're the same thing. The only thing that's different is the uniforms that they wear. And if you look at the markings on their uniform, those aren't that much different either. He also began demoting and firing damn near every black face in sight as soon as he started his new job, which is, I mean, that's what they do. Which is one of the reasons why it's important people take local control of their politics. That's not a bad idea, Cameron. Cameron says take his phone and type NIG in the text. If autocomplete finishes the word, then you know that it's something that he uses frequently. Facts. Use that artificial intelligence against him, that auto suggest. More from WETC. Since taking office, Sheriff Jody Green has made some significant changes to staff. When Sheriff Hatcher was in charge, there were 2 African Americans on his command staff, Jeremy Barber and Captain Clementine Thomas. Green demoted Thomas within days of taking office and cut her pay by $10,000. Economic attack. She was later fired. Barber, formerly the department's lead detective, was demoted to the civil division. Green's command staff, made up of his highest ranking officers, no longer has any minorities. Which again, why are we talking about minorities when we're dealing with an anti-black racist? All minorities will do is come in and help this guy uphold his anti-black racism. So I don't know why, when it comes to these conversations, why News One, who is allegedly a black media outlet, is talking about minorities when we already know that we may as well just lump minorities in with white people. Even when it comes to black people who are immigrated from Africa or the Caribbean. So now here it says, and here's what Green said in February of 2019. Phone call Souls recorded. They're gone. This is as fair as I'm going to be. I'm just giving you the heads up that's coming. When me and Boyd and Angie go through it tomorrow, the first numbers we see, they're gone. They ain't gonna make it, brother. I'm telling you, they might as well find somewhere else to go. Because if you ain't with me, I ain't referring to you. But if they're not with me, they're against me. And they're gone. And that's just how it's going to be. That's just how it's going to be. So we got this dude using "I'm white and I say so" language right here. Law enforcement. Remember, law enforcement is enforcing the law of white supremacy. I'm going to get rid of these people, and that's just how it's going to be. Clarity, whatever her name is, I don't trust her. Dawn says she's racist. If I have to fire every MF out there, guess what? I'm tired of them effing with me. It ain't going to happen no more. No GD more. So let them know. If I find their numbers in the next day or two, they ain't going to like it. They damn sure ain't going to like it. And that's got to be somebody in the command staff. Clarity, I don't trust her. She's just sitting there staring at me the other day. The whole time, staring at me the whole effing time. Green was reportedly referring to Augustine Clarida, who is a black detention officer at the time. Tomorrow's going to be a new effing day. I'm still the MFing king sheriff, and I'll go fire every GD NIGGER. F them black bastards. They think I'm scared. They're stupid. Green continued. So this right here is proof that when white people say that they were scared for their life, that they're not. This is proof right here that when they say that they're scared for their life, they're not. The only thing they're scared of is like what Brett Favre showed. They're scared of media embarrassment, which they don't even have to deal with about that. They might have to deal with a few black YouTubers talking shit about them. They don't have to deal with any media embarrassment. I haven't seen a hit piece on Brett Favre from the New York Post or from MSNBC or from CNN or any of these companies, ESPN or any of them. I haven't heard Stephen A. Peckernose say anything about any of these guys. So, I mean, I don't know, what it is that they would be scared of other than physical repercussions dealing with people right there in the department. So now here it says, I don't know what else to do it. So it's just time to clean them out. There's a snitch in there somewhere telling what we're effing doing, and I'm not going to have it. So there goes that blue line. There goes that blue line. Yeah, you guys all know that Stephen A. Smith's nose looks like a woodpecker, and he's used to having it dug deep, you know what I'm saying, into some pale asshole. So, shout out to my man Black Star Racer. That's your boy Stephen A. Smith. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna have it. We'll cut the snake's head effing off, period. And Melvin Campbell is as big a snake as Lewis Hatcher ever dared to be. Every black that I know, you need to fire him. You need to fire him to start with. He's a snake. So there's that. This is coming straight out of a white supremacist sheriff's mouth. But remember, guys, as long as everybody remembers that this doesn't happen and that this is woke, you're all good. Now, what we have to do is in these situations, what we have to do is we have to circumvent these people's own words. Because remember, this is what this guy said. This is what he said. These are his words that came out of his mouth that he's accountable for. But just as long as you remember that none of this happened and none of this is a factor and none of this is true, you're all good. It's just an illusion. It's just a smoke screen. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure that it didn't happen. Because we're the moral compass of everything. And we deem racism as moral. As long as everybody understands that, well, hell, shit, we're all good to go. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, please help your boy out. Make sure you smash that like button. And also, if you guys have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. In the years since the phone call was recorded, Souls has been trying to figure out how to use the recording to oust the sheriff, who would likely replace his handcuffs with nooses if it were up to him. Souls said he brought the recording to the attention of the county commissioners during a recess at the county commission meeting, but most of the commissioners are supporters of Green, so no dice there. why would you bring this to other white people as if white people are going to do something about this? Oh, well, clearly there was a misinterpretation. I mean, he didn't really mean this. I mean, it was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. How many times have we heard the same nonsense? It was a joke. What's wrong with you emotional people? None of you emotional people have any kind of humor. You're not funny, which they debunk when they show their love for Dave Chappelle. Eventually, Columbus County District Attorney John Davis got a hold of the recording and formally requested that the SBI investigate allegations of obstructions of justice by the Columbus County Sheriff's Office, WECT reported. When WECT confronted Green with the recording, the sheriff denied saying the things that he said, but on Wednesday, he posted a statement on the Columbus County Sheriff's Office Facebook admitting that he used racist language but denied any racist intent. And then white people will follow suit and say that this is all true. Hey, we're white. We're allowed to use racist language, and it doesn't mean that we're racist. We're just using the language. I mean, because you people say the N-word all the time. Shout out to Carla Lockhart. What up with it, Carla? But remember, as nonsensical as this is, shout out to the last stream, it's you people that have an inherent cognitive issue. Just saying. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. I mean, how could we not take "I hate black people" as a term of endearment? I know, right? I mean, how do we? I mean, what we need to understand is that immigrants and white people and everybody else, if they just hate black people, I mean, that's just how it's supposed to be, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Shout out to my man Keldrick. What up with it, bro? Green also said he would cooperate with the investigation. Honestly, the fact that it took 4 years for an investigation to happen reminds us how easy it is for racist cops to remain in a position of power. Now is a good time to mention that Columbus County is 30% black, which it doesn't matter what the percentage of black people is. We've seen things like this happen in counties or in cities that are over 90% black. So now, as long as everybody just remembers that this is nonsense and that this doesn't happen, we're all good, right? Because this doesn't happen. This is nonsense. This is pseudoscience and hyperbole. This is stuff that doesn't occur, right? So let's actually check out this video from the actual local news source and see exactly what it is they're talking about here, shall we? So let's see what they're talking about.
Every black that I know, you need to find him to start with. He's a snake.
Of Columbus County.
That's the voice of Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. An incredible phone call caught on tape talking about his African-American employees.
WECT.
Now, just pay very close attention because this guy here just called this phone call incredible. My question is, what's incredible about it? What's incredible about this phone call? I'll tell you what's incredible. The only thing that's incredible is that this guy is still employed and not dealing with any consequences. Other than that, there's nothing incredible.
Every black that I know, you need to find him to start with. He's a snake.
Of Columbus County.
That's the voice of Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. An incredible phone call caught on tape talking about his African-American employees.
WECT just obtained a copy of that call, and we have now learned the SBI has opened an investigation into allegations of obstruction of justice at the Columbus County Sheriff's Office. Investigative reporter Ann McAdams has this exclusive story and joins us now with that recording. Ann?
Fran, on one end of the phone is current Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. On the other end is Jason Souls, the man who previously served as interim sheriff while officials settled a dispute over the 2018 election. We should warn you, there is some graphic language in this call. Sheriff Green says, quote, he is sick of these black bastards and that every black he knows needs to be fired.
Now, mind you, this is the guy that's going to be pulling you over. Exactly. If you guys agree with Edward, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with Edward, give me a thumbs down. This is the norm. They kill me with the shock and dismay. Yeah, speaking of last stream, talking about race norming, this is the actual norm for this race.
Right, and guess what? I'm telling you, they have no more. No God more.
That's the voice of Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. He won his seat by 34 votes in an election that was so highly contested, he'd been temporarily removed from office while officials settled the election disputes. That was the setting the night Green called acting Sheriff Jason Souls, saying their office had a snitch.
So now here's my question for everybody. Again, I'm going to ask the same question that I always ask. How is this not national news? Let me ask you guys that. I'm going to tell you guys how it's going to start being national news. You guys are going to help me get Black Light Revelations to over 1 million subscribers, and then they're not going to have a choice.
Immediately after being appointed to the interim sheriff, started to get a lot of phone calls from Jody late at night. And this one particular phone call that we received, he made the comment that he hated Democrats. And then he said, I take that back. I hate a black Democrat.
So now when it comes to this Jason Souls individual, you know, I don't give him very much credit for giving this tape up. The only reason why he wants this tape is because he was in direct competition with this guy. So I would have to see a record of this individual and how he operated and how he moved as a person before I say, oh, you know what, this guy's a good guy. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is that what's so crazy about how these people move is that they can opportunize off of each other's racism, which is one of the reasons why when I hear white people calling other white people racist, I know that the only thing they're trying to do is try to get some kind of support from me or something like that, and it's not valid. I could care less. You know what I'm saying?
And I knew right at the end, I was like, wow, this is coming from the sheriff, and I had to start recording those conversations.
Former Sheriff Lewis Hatcher was the first African-American ever to serve as sheriff in Columbus County. Green says on the call he's specifically concerned that people in his office are leaking information to Hatcher and Melvin Campbell, another African-American officer Green fired shortly after taking office.
It's stopping. Tomorrow's going to be a new day. I'm still the mother sheriff, and when I'll go there and fire my God black bastards. I'm scared. That's stupid.
It gets worse. After the sheriff explains that he's getting phone records from Verizon to trace anyone in his office who's called Campbell or Hatcher, he lets Souls know the plan.
This is how all these people operate, including at your job. So when you go to work, what people need to understand and what people need to be aware of is you need to be aware of this kind of nonsense that goes on. And if you have an issue with it, what you got to understand is that all white people are going to do is just turn their heads like a wind-up toy and say that you're being woke. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
It's like his Lewis Hatcher ever dared to be. Every black that I know, you need to find him to start with. He's a snake.
Former Sergeant Melvin Campbell said he was so surprised when he heard this recording of the sheriff talking like this about him, he had to listen to it twice. Before taking the job at the sheriff's office, Campbell, who received the Order of the Longleaf Pine from the governor, spent 30 years as a highway patrol officer under Jody Green's supervision.
And I worked with him, and it kind of shocked me. You know what I mean? That came out his mouth. I thought we was friends.
There you go. That's your problem right there.
Sir, under Jody Green's supervision.
And I worked with him, and it kind of shocked me. You know what I mean? That came out his mouth. I thought we was friends.
You guys remember what Neely Fuller Jr. said? Neely Fuller Jr. said a white person to be friends with a black person, but they got to understand the business arrangement of white supremacy. So, I mean, I'm sure that guy was your friend, but at the end of the day, he understands racism. White people understand racism. It's black people that don't understand racism. So when I hear black people sit there and talk about, oh, white people don't understand racism, you're wrong. You don't understand racism. The people that have used it to create a $1 billion global operation where they've dominated the entire world with it have a goddamn PhD in it. It's you that has a kindergarten understanding of it.
But with friends like that, who needs enemies?
In the months that followed, the only 2 black members of Sheriff Green's command staff were demoted or fired. Soules says ever since making that recording, he's been working to bring it to the attention of county commissioners, court officials, the attorney general, and the SBI over concerns that the county's most powerful law enforcement leader had a bias against black people.
And I was told to just keep documenting everything that happens so that we would have a paper trail of it, and we did.
But Soules said no matter who he and his supporters turned to, nothing happened. Soules is now running against Green for
And now this right here is where this is white people meeting white supremacy. So I'm sure this dude's Soules is probably just mind blown. He has no idea why nothing is happening. Welcome to your privilege, man. So now when white supremacy is affecting you and you're trying to get something done by it, why is nothing happening? That's why nothing is happening, bruh.
Sheriff and doesn't want people to think his actions are politically motivated. But he says people need to know the real Jody Green.
And I didn't want to do this to begin with. You know, I wanted help. I wanted to do it the right way.
I didn't want to do this.
You know, I wanted help.
Actions are politically motivated, but he says people need to know the real Jody Green.
And I didn't want to do this.
Why not? See, now that's where you got to ask yourself the question. So now you got to ask yourself the question, is this guy fit to be a sheriff? I didn't want to do this. Well, okay, why not? Let me ask you guys this question. Why not? Why would somebody not want to do this? Do you see how problematic this is? Absolutely, Torian. Absolutely. It's cannibalization. Ironically. Ironically. You know what I'm saying? Oh, absolutely. I don't doubt it. I think there was 1 or 2. You heard the guy. Now, Torian disagrees. Torian says, I highly doubt it. Now, I would highly doubt it, right? Now, me or Torian would probably not vote for this guy, and probably nobody here would vote for this guy. But you guys have to understand, look at the sentiments of his black coworkers. That guy said, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. Well, guess what, bruh? Believe it. And real quick, shout out, and everybody make sure you guys drop some radiation emojis for my man, Mike Mellis John. B1, these kinds of calls are the reason FBA black folks in the workforce or institution must invest money in personal spy cameras. Damn the consequences. Facts. Super duper facts. Make sure that the first thing that you understand when you get your phone is how to use that recorder on the iPhone. Or make sure you understand how to use the camera. If you don't know how to use the recorder, just turn the damn camera on and let it run. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that you understand the wiretap laws in each of your states. And I guarantee you that with all of this coming out, with all of these cops getting in trouble and all of this stuff, they're going to start changing the wiretap laws to make them less favorable. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a wiretap law that has to do with telecommunications and using a camera and live streaming. Not even, on the phone. If you start recording things, they're going to start incorporating that into the wiretap laws to deter people from showing testimony of cops and other white people, CEOs and bosses and different things like that at work, showing their racism.
To begin with, I wanted help. I wanted to do it the right way. And I have reached out to everyone that I know to reach out to. I've even tried to get to the governor. I started at the bottom with the commissioners and worked all the way to the top, to the AG's office and the governor's office. But I just can't seem to get any help.
We spoke to Sheriff Green about the recording on Monday. At the time, he said he had no recollection of that conversation, so we provided him with a copy of the recording. Late this afternoon, he posted a statement on Facebook saying his office serves citizens of all races. And although he admits to using offensive language, he denies saying...
What does that mean, and how does that help anything? My office serves citizens of all races. What does that mean? How does that help anything? How does that change anything? How does that circumvent the ignorance that you spewed out of your ugly face to begin with? How does that change anything? How does that help anything? What does that do? I don't understand that. Does that make any sense? If that makes any sense, guys, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make any sense, give me a thumbs down.
Afternoon, he posted a statement on Facebook saying his office serves citizens of all races. And although he admits to using offensive language, he denies saying anything with racial or malintent. Green said he would cooperate fully.
Oh my God. So then what was it that you thought you were saying? So what I want you guys to pay attention to, again, and if you guys haven't watched the last stream, I know that it's long, but anybody who watched that stream will tell you that it's worth all of the time that it took. But what I need to know from everybody is how does going back and saying that, how does that make any of what you said or did correct? Even on recording, he denies it. Facts. So again, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the post-truth society and dealing with this particular issue. We're dealing with people who we already know will just circumvent factual information. It doesn't matter. Even though I said it, even though it's on recording, I didn't say it.
On Facebook saying his office serves citizens of all races. And although he admits to using offensive language, he denies saying anything with racial or malintent. Green said he would cooperate fully with the SBI investigation. If you would like to hear the entire recording, we have it posted online inside the story on WECT.com.
So now we might be able to listen to the whole story or the whole recording if you guys want to, depending on how long it is. So let's check this article out. It says on one end of the phone was Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. That's the guy who is on the thumbnail picture, Jody Green. On the other was then Captain Jason Souls, who had just been tapped to lead the sheriff's office while election officials investigated a complaint questioning whether Green was eligible to serve as sheriff or not. So as we already know, Green was already involved in some shade. Shout out to Steal My Beats. What's up with it, bro? Yeah, if we call this out, we're deemed woke because everybody knows that when it comes to the word woke, all that means is holding white people accountable. That's all that means. If we talk about white accountability, it's woke. Well, this guy was a racist. You know, we caught him on his phone call. Oh, you guys are being woke. You guys are being woke. Green wanted to know who in the department had communicated with Lewis Hatcher, the former sheriff whom Green had narrowly defeated in the election, and Melvin Campbell, a recently fired sergeant, both of whom are African-American. In Green's words, they had a snitch in the office leaking information to his political opponent, who had sued to be reinstated until the election protests were resolved. What I find fascinating is just like in this situation and so many others, while this person was sitting up here talking all of this nonsense, it was a white person who snitched on you. Sounding like that heroin addict Ryan Kennel, the no teeth having heroin addict who's outraged about racial swapping while not doing anything about the Christian religion. Is that the guy we're talking about? Is that the guy we're talking about that had every single vein in his arms popping out when he was doing curls with 10-pound dumbbells? Because his brain is a 10-pound dumbbell. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of these black bastards. That's something that Ryan Kendall would say. He's sick of all those. I'm sick of all those good black people in the Gotham series. I'm sick of it. I'm going to clean house and be done with it. Now, him saying that he's going to clean anything is not really culturally consistent, but whatever. And we'll start from there. The call between Green and Souls took place about a month into what was a tumultuous start to Green's career as sheriff. Green beat Hatcher in the 2018 election by just 34 votes at the time when election fraud in this rural part of North Carolina was making national headlines. So now this was making national headlines. I'm curious to see how national. How many of you guys heard about this? If you guys heard about this issue before today, give me a thumbs up. If you guys did not hear about this issue before today, give me a thumbs down. And what I'm curious about is where are all of the journalists at the New York Post who seem to just have all of these fascinating stories, but just happen to miss this? What about CNN or NBC or CBS or ABC? So what I find fascinating is, you know how they talk about all of the racial reckonings going on. There's all these racial reckonings going on with all this police. You know what I'm saying? Every time there's something going on, there's a racial reckoning in the United States. Where was the racial reckoning about this? Didn't hear too much about it. The results were protested in part over concerns Green did not actually live in Columbus County as required by state law. He'd also been improperly sworn in by before the state certified election results. So again, and we're just not going to deal with any of that, because why would we deal with any of it? If we dealt with any of it, we'd be being woke. So now any punishment of a white person to in account of doing something negative to a minority, well, hell, shit, that's woke. If you kill a black kid and you get in trouble for it, I mean, that's just woke. You're being woke. Everything is woke. I agree with Cameron. If you guys agree with Cameron, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with Cameron, give me a thumbs down. He's the guy they want. Now, here's the interesting thing. Cameron says, is the FBI going to fire him? I don't think that the FBI is going to fire him, because the FBI is the one who alerted the entire United States to the white supremacist infiltration issue in law enforcement. So they already know about this. So I don't think that they're going to do anything about this at all. They're just going to sweep this under the rug and act like it never happened. And if anybody brings it up, there's no such thing as racism. I mean, seriously, because how does it affect anybody that's alive today? Other than the people in this police office who were black that ended up losing their job as a result of this bigot. So now here it says Souls' promotion to acting sheriff was the result of a court mitigated agreement between Green and Hatcher, while election officials worked to determine who was the rightful sheriff. Green wanted his chief deputy, Aaron Herring, to serve as interim sheriff, but Herring was not an acceptable alternative to Hatcher and his supporters, in part because of Herring's reputation in Columbus County's African American community. So it sounds like this thug has a background. Now, pay very close attention to how News One didn't mention that. You mean to tell me that this good white man doesn't have a reputation of just treating black people like royalty? Are you trying to tell me that? Are you trying to tell me that the moral compass of the United States of America just was not treating those black people good? I just can't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Isn't every... Don't you got... Wait a minute. Hold on real quick. We all know that the only thing that white people are capable of is treating everybody fair and the utmost morality, right? I mean, if you don't agree with that, then you're woke. Because remember, the slave trade was black people's faults. Herring was arrested in 2015, and he was charged with punching a handcuffed black man in the face while serving as a Whiteville police officer. I don't know what a black person was doing in a place called Whiteville. If you go to a place called Whiteville kind of tells me that the law is they'll handcuff you if you're innocent and punch you in the face just by the name of it. I mean, the place is called Whiteville. Of course, he was later found not guilty, but that did little to quell concerns in some part of the community about his treatment of African Americans. So now my question is, why is it that we never hear anything about the treatment of white people? I think it's because maybe they get treated in a biased way, a little bit too good for no reason. There's always all this story about how white people are treating other people, but there's not really any stories about how other people are, quote, treating white people. What does that tell you about that dynamic? Something's not right, right? It doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. Souls told WECT that immediately after his opponent acting as sheriff, he began getting late night phone calls from Green. This one, so he just was on some weirdo shit. Souls told WECT that immediately after his appointment as acting sheriff, he began getting late night phone calls from Green. And if you ask me, Green was doing these late night phone calls not just to espouse his racism, but actually this was an attempt to intimidate Soul. If you ask me, this was an attempt to intimidate him. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. This one particular phone call that I received, he made the comment that he hated Democrats. And then he said, I take that back. I hate a effing black Democrat. So that's interesting. I hate a effing black Democrat. The entire principle of Democrat is white supremacist ideology. So you don't like the production of white brains coming out of black people? And then I knew right then, I was like, wow, this is coming from a sheriff. And I had to start recording these conversations. Soul said of the moments before he hit record on the phone call. Yeah, and I don't think that he said that. I think he said, wow, if I can prove this stuff, shit, I'll just be able to keep my position. Yeah, facts. I agree with Edward Berry. They live in quote unquote Delusionville. They live in Delusionville. Look at this. It broke my heart because that's not what I believe in. What does he mean by that? It upset me to the fact that I had to start recording the phone calls, and I'm not wanting to go around recording people's conversations. But this was not the leader that we needed leading the Columbus County Sheriff Office making these racial slurs, Soul explained. So Soul is only outraged by the racial slurs. Again, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to white people and their overemphasis on the N-word effect. You're not worried about him firing people for no reason. You're worried about him using the N-word. You're not worried about all of the injustices he probably facilitated. You're worried about him using the N-word. Thanks, but no thanks. The portion of the conversation Souls recorded lasted for 6.5 minutes. He says the call happened one night early in February of 2019. So this happened in 2019. All right. So now what I want you guys to understand is that this happened in 2019. This article was published September 28, 2022. So now you have to ask yourself the question, this happened so long ago, right? It's just like slavery. It happened so long ago. I mean, it's literally just like slavery. It happened so long ago. So why are we hearing about it today? Why didn't we hear about it back then? Facts, Edward. And my question is, do you guys think that this sole officer heard more and was engaging in this kind of conversation in the same way? And I think he was. It took this sole character 3 years to realize that something was wrong. That's problematic in itself. The portion of this conversation Soul recorded for at least 6.5 minutes. He says the call happened late one night in early February 2019. Trying to track down the source of the apparent leak in his office, Green can be heard saying that he's contacted Verizon to get phone records to see if anyone in his department made calls or to receive calls from Lewis Hatcher or Melvin Campbell in the last 2 months. So Green, who is an idiot, is assuming that it was the black officers who snitched on him. And it was the guy who he was on the phone with. It shows how high IQ these people are. They're gone. This is as fair as I'm going to be. I'm just giving you a heads up that this is what's coming. When me and my attorney and wife go through it tomorrow, the first numbers we see, they're gone. So he actually thought that Verizon was going to give him the numbers, which Verizon probably would give him the numbers. If you guys think that Verizon would give him these numbers, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that Verizon would give him these numbers, give me a thumbs down. They ain't going to make it, brother. I'm telling you, they might as well find somewhere else to go. Because if you ain't with me, and I ain't referring to you, which is fascinating because this guy ultimately was not with him, but they're not with me, they're against me, and they're gone. And that's just how it's going to be. Clarity, whatever her name is, I don't trust her. Dawn says she's racist. So again, now this is a white person attempting to frame other people as if it's possible for other people to be racist. Anytime you hear a white person talking about racism against white person, that should be a red flag that that white person is a racist. You always hear the most racist white people talking crazy like this, calling black people and other minorities racist when they're the racists. Oh, they're racist against white people. Damn niggers. Somebody holding you accountable for your vile behavior is anti-white racism. So what you guys need to understand is that when people talk about white people, when white people talk about minorities and non-white people being racist, what they're talking about is white accountability. It's the same thing as attempting to, quote, woke shame people. It's the same thing. There's no difference. If I have to fire every MF out there, guess what? Green can be heard saying at the beginning of the recording. So now let me ask you something. He says that Dawn is racist. How many people has Dawn fired? How many people has Dawn used her authority to get rid of? Probably none. He came in with the plan to get rid of people based on skin color immunity. That's racist. So now what I find fascinating again is when it comes to white people, You know, when it comes to black criminals and different things like that, white people come with this insane narrative and say that black people don't think that black people should have any consequences when it comes to crime. Anytime we talk about crimes, if we do a story or, we do some content about a black person who commits a crime, how many times does anybody ever say, well, if this person actually committed this crime, they don't need to be held accountable? That never happens. That person will get drugged through the mud by black people worse than they get drugged through the mud by anybody else. But the problem is that white people ignore it. So when a white police officer kills somebody for no reason, and black people say, wait a minute, this person got killed because of racism, white people try to justify it through black criminality, while ignoring the things that black people say about criminals. Shout out to my man Maine. What up with it, bro? Exactly. Exactly. No, he thought, wow, I can use this against him now. Exactly. I agree 100%. If you guys agree with what Maine said, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with what Maine said, give me a thumbs down. I agree with what Maine said 100%. He saw that as an opportunity. And remember, these people don't care. There's no ethics there. They'll cross each other. So now here it says, I'm tired of them effing with me. It ain't happening to me no more. No GD more. So you let them know if I find their numbers in the next day or two, they ain't going to like it. They damn sure ain't going to like it. And that's got to be somebody in the command staff. Clarity, I don't trust her. She's just sitting there staring at me the other day, the whole time effing staring at me. So because this black woman was staring at him, she needs to be fired. So because this black woman was staring at him, she needs to be fired. You know what I mean? Green continues, apparently referring to Augustine Clarida, who at the time was an African-American detention officer. So what you guys got to understand is that white people are so sensitive that if you're staring at one of them, be careful because your job is at risk. Your job will be at risk. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow's going to be a new effing day. I'm still MFing King Sheriff, which I find fascinating. I mean, this is literally sounding like Denzel Washington from Training Day. But remember, that's a fiction movie. And I'll go up and fire every GD. And he says N-word here. F them black bastards. They think I'm scared. They're stupid, Green said. I don't know what else to do. So it's just time to clean them out. So again, this right here is the basis of white supremacy. I don't know what else to do. So it's just time to clean them out. I don't know how to deal with other people that share the planet with me. It's just time for genocide. Literally their thought process on a macro and micro level. There's a snitch in there somewhere telling what we are doing. Yeah, and it happens to be a white guy. And I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to have it. Well, you have it. Now you have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you have it. You know what I mean? Shit. In a recording, Green can be heard saying he's going to start firing people who are guilty by association with Campbell and Hatcher. Well, I wonder what he's going to do with the people who are associated with Soul. You know what I'm saying? Now you have it, bruh. What you gonna do? You still gonna fire all the black people or what? We'll cut the snake's effing head off, period. And Melvin Campbell is as big a snake as Lewis Hatcher ever dared to be. Every black that I know, you'll need to fire him to start with. He's a snake, Green says before ending the phone calls. I bet your soul is just sitting there like, Shout out to my man Jada Informant. What's up with it? Man, I'm telling you, man, these people are so bright. It makes so much sense how they dominated the world, doesn't it? Damn, these are some smart motherfuckers, man. There might be something to that bell curve shit. I'm not gonna say what, but there might be something to that bell curve shit. So now here it says, in the years that have passed since making this recording. Now, mind you, years have passed since making this recording, and this is the first that we're hearing about it. Soul said he or his supporters have gone to every official he could think of, trying to get them to intervene in the situation that reeked of law enforcement bias. So what I want you guys to pay very close attention to is that this is a systemic issue. There's a white man who brought this tape to other white people who are in charge of law enforcement, and it's taken until now, September 28th, to do something about it because it was ignored. But what you need to pay attention to is how they're putting the focus on this one particular officer, Jody Green. That's where the focus is. But now the reason why this didn't get resolved is because everyone kept ignoring Soul. But we're not putting the focus on that. So now my question is, what it seems like is that now there's no choice but to put the focus on Soul to make it look like we're doing something about it, to distract everybody from how systemic and enrooted this issue is. Because in my opinion, dealing with this other officer, Jody Green, is a separate issue from dealing with the people that Soul brought the tape to that wouldn't do anything about it. These are two separate issues. These are two separate issues. Soul said he also brought the recording and other concerns about the sheriff to the attention of the county commissioners during a recess at the county commission meeting. However, he said Buddy Bird, who had his own trouble with the Columbus County Sheriff's Office, was the only commissioner who followed up with him. While he shared Soul's concerns, Bird told WECT he was not able to effect any change without the support of his fellow commissioners, who are largely Green supporters, which is one of the reasons why Green was allowed to get away with all that stuff that he got away with, not living in the county and becoming a sheriff and all of that. You think that was a coincidence? If you guys think that was a coincidence, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think it was a coincidence, give me a thumbs down. Everybody had deaf ears, Bird said, of the reaction of the other commissioners when he told them about the recording of the sheriff making disparaging comments about his black employees. Soul supporters then reached out to officials at the state level trying to get someone to take action. As a result, Soul says that a year and a half ago, an agent with the SBI came to meet with him about the recording of the sheriff's racially charged comments. He said they seemed concerned by the content of the recording, but explained they could not open a formal investigation without being asked by the district attorney or the attorney general's office. And let me guess, the people in the district attorney or attorney general's office were Green supporters. But remember, as long as everybody remembers that this doesn't happen, we're all good. This is non-existent. This is a non-issue. This is something that we're all making up. So now here it says, I was told to just keep documenting everything that happens so that we could have a paper trail of it, Soul said. And we did. So as things would come in, I would reach out to him again and make sure that we are aware of everything that was going on. And after that, we have had several complaints that have been filed with the State Board of Elections on issues that we're having. And we've also met with some other state officials as well to make sure that they were aware of what was going on. When reached by phone on Monday, Columbus County District Attorney John Davis said he learned of the recording for the first time an hour earlier. He said the SBI had reached out to him after getting an email from WECT asking about the recording. After learning what was on the recording, David said he was concerned but unsure if Green's comments reached the level of criminal violation. Now, you can get a criminal violation in New York City for looking at an Asian person wrong, but we had to make sure that, talking about firing people for no reason, we had to make sure that that's the level of criminal violation. I'm pretty sure that's an abuse of power, very easily proven. But remember, we're talking about proving this against a white person. Shout out to Tia. What up with it, Tia? So, this this is all speculation and hyperbole. You know what I'm saying? He said his prosecutors did not recall being previously informed about the racially charged phone call, which is one of the reasons, again, why it's important to make sure that people have a paper trail about these kind of things. Because then you can say, yeah, see, here's the red receipt, and I texted you about this on XYZ date. And shout out to Carla for answering the Nightbot. So now here it says, criminal or not, David said the comments did raise other potential concerns about biased policing by the Columbus County Sheriff's Office, and that his office would need to review this to see if it may create issues for the sheriff or officers in his department being credible witnesses for any criminal cases that they investigated. You think? It's just amazing that we have to do a study about this to see if this is something that's a legitimate concern. If a bunch of white people are going around saying the N-words, we got to do a study and see if they're actually racist or not. Okay. All right. Then on Tuesday, after obtaining his own copy of the recording, David formally requested that the SBI investigate allegations of obstruction of justice by the Columbus County Sheriff's Office. Now, I'm curious. I wonder what the cases look like that were dealt with by the Columbus County Sheriff's Office. What do you guys think that those cases are looking like? Soul said he was reluctant to involve the media in the issue. Now, here's my question. Why are we reluctant to involve the media in this issue? Because it's fake news and, because it's liberal media and all this. Shout out to Tia for answering the Nightbot. What do you guys think about this so far? WECT actually reached out to him after someone familiar with the situation tipped off a reporter about the recording. After considering the matter for several weeks, weighing retaliation concerns and the fear people would accuse him of being politically motivated, Souls agreed to share the recording with WECT and do an interview. I didn't want to do this to begin with, I wanted help. I wanted to do it the right way, and I have reached out to everyone that I know to reach out to. I've even tried to get the governor. I started at the bottom of the commissions and worked all the way up to the top of the AG's office and governor's office, but I couldn't seem to get any help. Now, my question is, why is the governor not being held accountable for this? So now, whether Souls was politically motivated or not, he took the chain of command, and we can't ignore that. So he did take the chain of command all the way up to the governor, and even the governor ignored his claims. Why did that happen? But remember, this doesn't happen. As long as you all remember that this doesn't happen, we're okay. This is all just a figment of our imagination. You know what I'm saying? Just a figment of our imagination. None of this is real. It doesn't happen. Something's wrong with us. We're woke. We're emotional people. None of us had fathers, and all of us are going to lead this live stream and commit a bunch of crimes. Just remember that. And until I get caught, I'll make streams about them on Crimecast. Just remember that. And as long as you remember that, you will be able to live your life as a good black person here in the United States under a white supremacist government peacefully. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says changing the face of Columbus County Sheriff Office. Since taking office, Sheriff Jody Green has made some significant changes to his staff. When Sheriff Hatcher was in charge, there were 2 African American on his command staff, Lieutenant Jerry Barber and Captain Clementine Johnson. Green demoted Thompson within days of taking office and cut her pay by $10,000. She was later fired. Now, my question is, did they get her job back? Barber, formerly the department's lead detective, was demoted to the civil division. But remember, racism doesn't exist. Green's command staff, made up of his highest ranking officers, no longer has any black people. This here says minorities. I'm saying black people. Yeah, right, Deneen. Facts. Oprah is a billionaire, so there's nothing to see here, folks. And yeah, I think that's probably what it was, man. Melvin Campbell worked as a sergeant at the Columbus County Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Hatcher and continued in that role after Green was sworn in as a sheriff. Campbell had previously served for 30 years on the North Carolina Highway Patrol, where Green happened to be his supervisor. Campbell said his time at the Columbus County Sheriff's Office came to abrupt end after about 2 months after Green won the election. So now pay very close attention how they keep Green in these positions of power. Make sure you guys pay very close attention to how they're keeping Green in this position of power. Aaron called me to the office and said my services were no longer needed, Campbell recalled. When Campbell later had a chance to hear the recorded conversation with Green calling him a snake and saying that African Americans in the department should be fired, he said he couldn't believe his ears. Now, I mean, in my opinion, that tells you something about Campbell. My question is, why would you not believe your ears? So again, you're circumventing your own 5 senses to say, no, there's no possible way that this white person did this after you just heard them do it. That's what you call white supremacist brain damage. No, I didn't hear. No, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Are you serious? Why don't you go look at that state's history that you're working in if you don't believe it? He says it kind of shocked him, Campbell said. I mean, that came out of his mouth. I thought we were friends. That's your problem to begin with. I mean, like I say, I really did think we were friends. But with friends like that, who needs enemies? He is your enemy, moron. And this is what I'm talking about the brain damaged black people. So I hate to say this. I'm sure Campbell is a great person to his family. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that, his family loves him very well. But this kind of individual is expendable. There is no coming back from that kind of brain damage. Like, your brain is on life support and the plug should just be pulled. And I know that may sound harsh, and I'm sure people will probably unsubscribe. And I get it. That's kind of graphic and it's kind of cold, but I'm sorry. I don't care. World domination is the only solution. And when it comes to dominating the world, you're not going to dominate anything if you have a docile, weak-minded moron like that. Oza thoughts of we's a friends. You's a dumbass. Campbell said it was sad to watch his fellow black law enforcement members be fired or demoted by Green. It was sad, and I didn't do anything about it. It took another white man to do something about it. It was sad. I just sat there and watched it. And then I got surpassed by this white guy who had the recording and turned it in. I didn't say anything about it because I'm not going to say anything about it because I can't lose a job until this motherfucker decides to fire your stupid ass. Isaac Kainza believes it. He added that the lack of any minorities on the command staff was also demoralizing. My thing is his thought process is what's demoralizing. See, one of the things when it comes to this kind of stuff is when it comes to these kind of testimonies, these kind of people need to hold themselves accountable. I'm an idiot. You know what I'm saying? I made a bad judgment call. I thought that this instinctive racist could circumvent his racism. I misjudged. I didn't pay attention to patterns. I didn't understand the history of my state. I's a thoughts of we's a friends. When people I's a thoughts of we's a friends, you circumvent the history of the state that you're in. So again, when it comes to anything like this, you guys know how I feel about this kind of stuff, and a lot of people may not like it, and I get it. I understand that people don't like it, but you have to understand that when it comes to white supremacy, as of right now, in the current situation that we live in, we can't control white supremacy, but we can control our own brains. And if you're a fucking mush brain moron like this Herschel Walker clone, that's a thoughts of we's of friends, then your dumbass got what you got. Like, I honestly do not know what else to say. Him saying that is perpetuating racism. He even went as far as to say that the Columbus County Sheriff's Office is not a friendly environment for people of color. So again, he just sat there and didn't do anything about it. Campbell just sat there and did nothing about this. It took a white man to supply evidence that something wrong was going on, while Campbell was a victim of it and saw people, his peers, get victimized by it and stood there and did nothing to continue and get his paycheck. That is not something that should be ignored. That is that baseline level of coonery that I be talking about. Again, I'm not saying that people can't have white friends. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that you're avoiding patterns. Like, okay, like say for instance that this dude has some actual white friends. Okay, first of all, if you understand, you should hold your friends all to the same standards. You know what I'm saying? If your black friends are friends, you should hold your white friends to the same standard. If your white friends treat you different than your black friends, they're not your friends. So again, like I said, and I said this, and anybody that's been watching me for a long time knows this. I'm not a separatist. I'm not one of those people that says that, you know, we can't live and deal and interact and integrate with other people. What I'm saying is, I mean, just use your better judgment. You sat here and watched your coworkers be victimized, and you thought that this person was your friend. Like, come on. There's something wrong with that. And then now you're surprised when he does something to you. You're dumb. So now here it says it sends a bad message, Campbell says. You would think that he would have someone in the minorities on his command staff. I don't think that is, but why would you think that? I wouldn't think that. Look at how the United States is anti-black, anti all of this stuff. You have white people outraged and think that anti-racism is a bad thing. I mean, come on, bruh. This dude is a black man that lives in the South. Bruh, you live in the damn South. That's where the plantations were. What is wrong with you? Thank you, man. You live in North Carolina. That kind of individual is no help. No help to anything that anybody's trying to do. So now here it says those familiar with the department tell WECT that a significant number of staff in the detention center are African American, but jailers make less money than sworn law enforcement officers and don't have arrest powers. Of course, black people have the positions that don't have any power. Duh. Because for one, black people don't ever, white people are never going to give black people those positions. And for two, in many cases, black people are not ambitious to want to take the positions with power. And we're told on the law enforcement side of the department, there are only a handful of deputies who are black and none are high-ranking officers. A picture taken of the entire Columbus County Sheriff Office from 2021 appears to support that description. Just like the picture of the Supreme Court. According to U.S. Census data, 30% of the Columbus County population is black and roughly 63% is white. So now there's a reaction here from Sheriff Jody Green, which we already know what the reaction is. Oh, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything. And even if I said anything, I didn't mean anything. I wasn't going to do any of that stuff. I was just kidding. I was just joking. Don't cancel me. Don't cancel me as a result. Don't cancel me. When contacted by WECT reporter on Monday about the recording, Green seemed completely blindsided. He had one of those white supremacist amnesia moments. I have no idea what was going on. I feared for my life. I blacked out. Instead of calling it blacked out, they should call it I whited out. I don't know why they call it blacked out. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, make sure you guys take a moment. Please smash the like button. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and make sure that you hit that bell icon twice. So now here it says, absolutely not. I do not recall that. And it says, what? Sheriff Green asked when we first questioned him about racially charged comments he'd made on the recording. Is it me? What does it say I said? These people play off the same playbook. This is the same thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene did when she was questioned about January 6th. It's literally the same thing that anytime anybody does anything, they always default to. Oh my God, my brain is operating in that way where it just deleted everything that all of my memories that happened while I was doing this degenerate shit. You guys see what Italia says? If you guys agree with Italia, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. She says, just subscribe to all the channels. Great content. I have to agree. I might be a little bit biased, though. You see, I'm not white. I can admit that. So now here it says, a WEC reporter proceeded to read quotes from the audio recording. And then he says, I don't recall any of that. Absolutely not. Where was I when I supposedly said this? Green asked. On the other end of your phone, idiot. On the other end of your phone is where you were. But he doesn't recall any of this. Doesn't recall any of this. You know what I'm saying? How do you not recall any of this? When told the recording was made during a phone call he placed to Jason Souls in February of 2019, Green responded, this is ridiculous, but pay very close attention to how he didn't deny it. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. What's ridiculous? Your behavior? What's ridiculous? Your breath? What's ridiculous? Your body odor? What's ridiculous? Shout out to Shatera. What up with it, Shatera? What's ridiculous? The fact that you're still the sheriff? So now here it says regarding the lack of any minorities on his command staff, Sheriff Green says one black member of command staff was dismissed for things they were doing off duty that reflected negatively on the department. Green said that the other was demoted for job performance issues. The sheriff said he couldn't elaborate further because it was a personal matter, which is interesting. So he's firing people based on personal matters. I'm not going to elaborate any further on this. Now, remember from the last stream, how many times have we heard, I'm not going to elaborate further. I'm not going to answer questions. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. When asked if he was denying it, his voice was on the recording. Or when asked if he was denying it was his voice on the recording, Sheriff Green said he didn't know because he had not heard the recording. I mean, so you don't remember your own actions. Memory is pretty damn important if you're a police officer, wouldn't you say? I mean, remembering what you did is pretty important if you're a police officer. But this guy doesn't remember anything. He didn't remember a thing. At which point WECT provided him a copy. Green followed up with WECT Tuesday to say that the county attorney would be reaching out to the station on behalf. So he didn't have anything to say. The attorney is going to reach out. Chief Deputy Aaron Herring later emailed a letter from Boyd Worley, the attorney for the Columbus County Board of Commissioners. The letter questions the authenticity and legality of the recording, but does not even broach the topic of the racially charged comments. Of course not. It instead focuses on the conversation between Souls Green being a protected personal matter. So racism between white people should be a protected personal matter. Maybe these people will come up with some kind of legislation to protect that for themselves. In short, personal matters cannot be discussed or shared publicly due to state laws governing the privacy of current and former employees, Worley's letter reads. Worley served as Green's personal attorney during the disputed sheriff's election proceedings. He was later hired by the county. Shortly after this story published online, Green posted a statement on the Columbus County Sheriff's Office Facebook page saying his office serves citizens of all races, which means what? My office serves citizens of all races as long as we apply white supremacist law to every single one of them. So as long as white supremacist law is being informed, I mean, you know, if as long as that's the case, I'm doing my job. And although he admits to using offensive language, which, you know, I mean, something's wrong if you're offended by this language. He denies saying anything with racial malintent. You know, I mean, all I'm doing is saying the N-word. I mean, I'm not doing anything. Green said he will cooperate fully with the SBI investigation. And of course he'll cooperate fully with the SBI investigation because this Chad knows that there's no consequence for him.
Emilia Sykes will be a fighter.
Emilia Sykes should do something about this. I find it fascinating when they had these political articles on ongoing political issues that aren't being addressed.
I told you about that. Yeah. The first place I see, I've got the office numbers too. I mean, the first extension that Melvin Campbell or Louis Texas called their company. First one I found. Period.com. I'm sick of it now. Sick of these black bastards. What are they trying to clean the house and be done with it, period, and we'll start from there. What are they trying to say? It's just shit all the time. But from 2 weeks ago, when I got with Melvin leaving up till now, when I see Melvin ever Campbell has called anybody, or anybody's called him, they're gone. Same with Louis Hatcher. And it says Sabrina, whoever, they're gone. And I'm telling you, this is as fair as I can be. Just giving you heads up, that's coming. When me and Boyd and Nancy go through it tomorrow, the first numbers we see, they ain't gonna make it, brother. I'm telling you. They might as well come somewhere else to go. If you ain't with me, I ain't referring to you, but if they're not with me, they're against me. And they're gone. That's just how it's gonna go. Clarity, whatever her name is, I don't trust her. Don't say she's racist. She said her once illegal, they're gonna fuck a dump truck. And I noticed how she was looking. Somebody called and told them I was at a county vehicle. I left in a fucking dump truck.
So now I want to, are you guys able to hear this? If you guys can hear the audio on here, give me a thumbs up. If you guys can't, give me a thumbs down. Again, this right here is the phone call between Soul and Green.
But Melvin Campbell's got a lot to do with this too. I sure have. He's the go-to man. I've been told that over and over and over again. So, I'll go back a month. I might go back 2 months on the phone bill. That'd be the smart thing to do, wouldn't it?
Probably so, yeah.
Yeah, it's time to clean house. So I still got people running their fucking, and I ain't been up good. Nah, tell you something, I got a lot of money in this, and it's gonna be my way or it's gonna be no way. I'm at $140 grand right now.
That is, man.
Yeah. That's where we at right now today. If I had to fire every motherfucker out there, guess what? I'm tired of being fucked with. They ain't happening no more. No goddamn more. So you let them know. If I find them numbers, then that's there too. They ain't gonna lie. They damn sure ain't gonna lie. And that's got to be.
So now here's my question. There's no such thing as racism, right? What's this? What is this here?
Be somebody in the command staff. Clarity, I don't trust her. She just sitting there and stared at me the other day the whole time. Stared at me the whole fucking time. I was loading that back up. Can we end up helping Joe chain it down? Today they called me to be another fucking complaint. I've had a complaint every day. I ain't been to that fucking office. Have I called you?
No, sir.
I ain't called her every day. But it's stopped. Tomorrow's gonna be a new fucking day. I'm still the motherfucking sheriff, and when I'll go up there and fire my goddamn son. Fucking black bastards. They think I'm scared? That's stupid. Fucking black bastards. And when I'll go up there and fire my goddamn son. Fucking black bastards. And when I'll go up there and fire my goddamn son. Fucking black bastards. They think I'm scared? That's stupid.
Shout out to Jay Bird. What up with it, bro?
I don't know what else to do with it. So I said, it's just time to clean them out. There's a snitch in there somewhere telling what we're doing, and I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to have it. The only thing I know to do is pull phone records and start checking. I ain't putting trackers on people, but phone records is still the deal. Yep.
I think it's ironic that he thought he was going to fire people with the phone records, and now it's his phone record that's coming back to bite him in his own ass.
So just give him heads up. Hell's coming, I promise. As soon as I find out who it is, they ain't gonna lie. You and Aaron put your heads together tomorrow so you can figure out who it is.
All right. Have you talked to him?
Nah, that's okay.
Okay.
Have not all day long. I'm gonna call him as soon as I get off the phone with you there.
Right.
But I've already called Verizon. That guy's gonna give me the records, and we're gonna go through them. Melvin Campbell, Lewis Hatcher, they fired. They're gonna be guilty by fucking association. You agree?
We don't need no snake, bro.
I ain't gonna have it. I'm gonna cut the snake's fucking head off. And Melvin Campbell's the biggest snake as Lewis Hatcher ever dared to be. Every black that I know, you need to find him to start with. He's a snake. Well, I'm gonna keep my part. Watch what I tell you. But you and Aaron get together in the morning, and Bobby. See if y'all figure out who it is.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir, bro. Take care.
So yeah, so there's that. Here's the court records right here, and that's that. So again, what I gotta ask is all of these people that say that this stuff doesn't happen. Okay, what's this? What's this then? If this stuff doesn't happen. Now, shout out to Donna. What's up with it, Donna? We're gonna check out Ron DeSantis because he's a complete idiot. And what we're gonna look at is we're gonna look at how Republicans constantly talk about how the Democrats are the KKK and all of this nonsense. But what I find fascinating is that the KKK just cannot seem to stop supporting Republicans. KKK photo. Florida officials challenge DeSantis as GOP quietly replaces disgraced commissioner. Now, my question for everybody is, how many people have heard about this story? If you guys heard about this story, give me a thumbs up. If you guys did not hear about this story, give me a thumbs down. This is a story that was posted September 29th of 2022. Yeah, I agree, Donna. This is the kind of stuff that happens every day in my Snoop Dogg voice. The GOP quietly replaces disgraced commissioner. Oh, we're just going to shove this under the rug. Because remember, according to some politicians, these are good people. So now here it says on Wednesday, we reported that now former Gadsden County Board Commissioner Jeffrey Moore suddenly resigned from his post after a photo of him posing in full KKK uniform surfaced. But I was just playing, I was just joking about that. Yeah, facts. It was Slick Rick. Super facts. So now, how many people heard about this? More white politicians dancing around in KKK role play. Moore was appointed by the Wokenator himself, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, which would only be surprising if you're surprised that the sky turns less blue when the weather is bad. Seriously, if you're taken back by the governor who explicitly tried to redistrict the state's congressional map in order to dilute black voting power, also appointed a KKK player as a commissioner in a black majority county, then I'm afraid of startling you with the news that water is indeed wet. That's funny. This writer has a sense of humor. So now here, according to the Tallahassee Democrat, and we can check this out, a group of Gadsden County officials and clergy members are refusing to give DeSantis a pass on appointing an official who apparently wants to make America Reconstruction again. MARA probably won't work as an acronym because that's how half the MAGA crowd says tomorrow, and that might get confusing. That's funny. So here he is right here. You know, not racist or anything. Clearly, he was just kidding, and I'm the one that has an issue. I'm woke. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one with the problem. As long as everybody realizes that I'm the one with the problem, I think we're all good here. Remember, the problem is always us. As long as everybody is clear and understands that, I think we're okay. As long as everybody understands that, I think we're okay. I know, right? Nah, he was just being Moses or something, Yeah, he's just a Spanish priest. I mean, clearly. What's wrong with you black people? You know what I'm saying? What we're asking for today is that first, Commissioner Moore just step up and be a man. The NAACP Tallahassee chapter president Mudaki Adbar said in a news conference on Wednesday. At least acknowledge it because you owe that to the citizens of Gadsden County. If you can come here for photo ops whenever it benefits your office, come back for another and speak to the citizens of Gadsden County, Akbar continued. Ensure them that you'll do whatever background check or historical checks you need to do to make sure that these citizens are not insulted like this ever again. And again, this is pending his own personal testimony, which in my opinion can't be trusted.
We need new leadership for our state. And let us remember what has happened to us and vote. Finally, the KKK is alive and well in our community and in this state. In 2018, 68.36% of Gadsden County voters voted for Governor DeSantis' opponent during this general election. This is not okay. Back in the day, this tree right here, this is where black men and black women were hung on this tree. But yet we have a governor that has bullied his way, that has misused his power. He has removed 4 school board members in Broward County by saying that they were mentally incompetent. But yet we have a governor.
He said that they were mentally incompetent. Didn't we just talk about that on the last stream?
Competent. But yet we have a governor, not the governor, we have a Moore in a KKK uniform. Think about that.
Interesting. Gadsden County Sheriff Morris Young, who is black and a supporter of DeSantis, told Politico he showed Moore the photo, and Moore didn't deny that it was him smiling in his white supremacy FUBU gear. That's funny. The white supremacy FUBU gear. I mean, to be honest, the United States and white supremacy is the first FUBU, for us, by us. You know what I'm saying? He never denied it at all, Young said, refuting nothing when I showed him pictures. Oh, just like the other guy that we just did the video about. The other guy that we literally just got done talking about. He never denied any of it either. So pay very close attention. These people don't deny any of this because they have to. There's no urgency. I mean, why would you deny any of it? If we have an issue with this, clearly it's us who is the issue. You know what I'm saying? It's not like these people are bots or anything. I thought he needed to resign, and I told him that. But really, we're talking about a black guy who seems to be surprised that a Klan enthusiast was supported by the governor he supports. The same governor who said Joe Rogan shouldn't have apologized for referring to a black neighborhood as the Planet of the Apes. Nah, bruh, don't try to climb yourself out of the sunken place now. Going to sink yourself back beneath that couch cushion. I didn't know that Ron DeSantis said that Joe Rogan shouldn't apologize for referring to a black neighborhood as the Planet of the Apes, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like, that doesn't surprise me. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if any white person said that, but I'm definitely not surprised that Ron DeSantis said that. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, take a moment. Make sure that you help your boy out by smashing that like button. Also, if you are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and make sure that you hit that bell icon twice. Meanwhile, the Democrat reported that Gadsden County Republicans have selected a replacement to run in November for the district's 2nd commission seat that is now vacant since Moore packed up his spare noose and went home. From the Democrats. So this I think this must be okay, yeah, these are two different news outlets here. The Tallahassee Democrat and what is this? Oh no, it's the same thing. Both are articles from the Tallahassee Democrat. So we can look at both of these. I got a little bit of extra time today. So yeah, there's that. Now again, pay very close attention to who didn't cover this. Okay? Pay very close attention to who didn't cover this. Did MSNBC cover this? Did CNN cover this? My question, ladies and gentlemen, is who all covered this? You didn't hear too much about it. Now, that's what's important, if you ask me. That's one of the reasons why I keep up with a lot of the local media, because you do hear about a lot of these things in the local media, but if you're waiting for the national media to hear about these kind of things, you won't hear about this stuff in the national media. And and exactly, man. That's the whole point. Why would a white supremacist news company cover this? Exactly. Which is one of the reasons why we have to have our own competing news apparatuses. That's an excellent point and an excellent question. Officials, clergy seek answers on DeSantis appointed commissioner's alleged KKK photos. Now, I mean, there's clearly something wrong with us, right? It's not us that got dressed up as KKK members, right? But if we have an issue with this, it's us that has the problem. We have the problem here. We're too woke. You know what I'm saying? A group of Gadsden County officials and clergy members are demanding answers from the governor and recently resigned county commissioner. This guy's name is Jeffrey Moore, about a photo of allegedly the commissioner in full KKK garb. So, I mean, again, what's up with this? Cameron said the pictures is from last week. Facts. What we're asking for today is that first, Commissioner Moore just step up and be a man, said president of the NAACP Tallahassee chapter, Mudaki Adbar, during the Wednesday news conference. So we don't need to go beyond this, because basically what this is, it just seems like what's the name of this? News One basically just copied and pasted this original article from the Tallahassee Democrat. So, we don't need to I don't think we need to go any further on that. But one thing that I do want to show you guys, though, is I do want to show you guys a picture of this guy. Do you guys want to see what this guy looks like? If you guys want to see what this guy looks like, give me a thumbs up. If you don't want to see what he looks like, give me a thumbs down. I guarantee you that he looks exactly like how you think he looks. I guarantee you he looks exactly the way that you picture him. You ready for him? All right, here we go. Boom. Is anybody shocked? Is anybody shocked? Is this exactly what you pictured? Moore resigned from the seat and withdrew from the upcoming election last Friday after an alleged photo of him wearing a KKK outfit began circulating the community. Now, my question is, why did he quit? He should have just continued with the race. Yeah, he's going for that Robert E. Lee look. He's going for that I smell like ass and armpits look. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's going for. He's going for that I smell like ass and armpits look. Oh man. He going for that look. Yeah, I agree. Auburn Burns. I agree. If you're gonna walk the walk, you gotta talk the talk. You know what I'm saying? Don't run back on that shit now. Go on and do it. You may as well put all your political propaganda on a burning cross. You running away for it like a little bitch. DeSantis appointed county commissioner resigns after alleged KKK picture emerges, and Ron DeSantis couldn't be more proud. Look at him. Look at him. Look at those incorrect eyes just peering into the horizon, trying to figure out what it is that I can do to fix this. What can I do to fix this? The picture began to circulate in Gadsden County in recent weeks and made it to the sheriff's desk, which we already know means nothing, Tuesday by a group of people from the county. And of course, DeSantis appointed this guy. Now, I got a question for you guys. Do you think that Christopher Rufo in the Manhattan Institute recommended this guy for DeSantis? That's my question. What do you guys think? A Gadsden County commissioner appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis abruptly resigned last week after pictures allegedly showing him in a KKK outfit started to circulate. Now, that particular issue is probably the reason why Ron DeSantis added him as somebody that he wanted working for him, because of that picture. That picture is the one Ron DeSantis was shuffling through a bunch of applications, and the KKK picture happened to fall out. He said, "Who is this guy?" Now, I don't have a resume. I don't have a resume, but damn it, if it's anybody that's qualified for working for me, it's definitely this guy. I got to see if he burns a good cross. So now here it says Young said that the pictures were brought to him last Tuesday, and multiple people told him that the pictures were of Gadsden County Commissioner Jeff Moore. So this guy had already had a government job. He was already in the government. He said when he approached Moore about the pictures, Moore did not deny it was him. Moore probably all Moore said was, "This is ridiculous." there's actually black people advocating for Ron DeSantis. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, shout out to my man Moxie Approved. Moxie actually did a great stream last night. All Moxie streams are great. You guys should definitely check his content out if you don't. But I was watching my man Moxie Approved, and I was like, some of the people in the comment section were like, "Yeah, Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, that should be the ticket for for 2024." And I'm like, sure, okay. Like in that DC universe where the Nazis happened to take over the world and won World War II, right? Like that's what you're talking about. Like not in reality, right? You know what I'm saying? So now here it says he never denied it at all, refuted nothing when I showed him these pictures, Young said in an interview. Young, who is black, endorsed DeSantis. So again, there's always an idiot. Behind every great white supremacist is an idiot black man. Behind every single one. You know what I'm saying? That has to stop. You guys remember that idiot that was at January 6th going ballistic like Goldberg, like he was Blackberg or something. You guys remember that? Me and TD actually talked about that moron on Just Talking. If you guys ain't subscribed to me and TD's channel, make sure you guys check that out. Oh shit. I thought he needed to resign. I told him that. Yeah, not bad. So let's just look. They probably got a cup of Jägermeister right there, or either Deer Blood, one of the two, and this KKK outfit. Yeah, it was the stormtrooper from The Empire Strikes Back. And you know, now that they're not allowed to wear KKK apparel, Cameron, which has had so many issues. Where's somebody get Ryan Kennel for me? Star Wars is woke. The stormtroopers are supposed to be dressed like this, and they're supposed to be burning crosses when Darth Vader comes out. You know, I'm sure James Earl Jones would appreciate that because Star Wars never had any black characters ever. You can't even depend on these people to tell fiction truthfully. You actually expect them to tell history truthfully? You know, Billy D. Williams wasn't in the original movie or anything like that, you know. Shout out to Hey Mr. Knickerbocker. Yeah. Yeah, Billy D was absolutely in the movie. Which I find fascinating because the main character that they're outraged about is a guy who is similar to Han Solo, which Billy D. Williams was Han Solo's counterpart, but we're just still outraged. And what I find even more fascinating is that if the Earth is any indication of how the universe is, if there are other humanoid beings, I got a problem because they're not going to be depicted like how they're depicted in most of the movies. If the universe is anything like the Earth is, I think the universe might fuck around and be woke. So good luck with your galactic federation. But then again, that would actually be if we're using scientific norms. You know. Moore, who is a Republican, imagine that. But remember, it's Republicans who always say that the KKK are Democrats. But this guy is a Republican wearing a Democrat outfit. So I wonder what Ron DeSantis has to say about that. It's always Republicans who constantly say that the KKK is Democrats, but now here you have a Republican wearing a KKK outfit, which they say is Democrat. So how does that work? It doesn't. The governor's office confirmed on Monday that Moore resigned last week, but they said that they didn't know why. Well, we don't know why he resigned last week. We happen to miss all of these articles that came out. We're in the middle of hurricane prep. I'm not aware of the photo you sent, but Jeff did submit his resignation last week. They're in the middle of hurricane prep. On Monday, Moore said that he was in the middle of preparations for Hurricane Ian and would reach out on Tuesday or Wednesday. He has since not responded to multiple requests seeking comment. How many times have we talked about somebody not responding to requests seeking comment? So again, that's just that's just what we do. We have a question about something, some questionable behavior. We're going to ask about that. We're not going to respond right now. Of course not. The pictures began to circulate in Gadsden County in recent weeks and made them to Young's desk last Tuesday by a group of people from the county. That was the first time I had seen them or started having to deal with it, he said. He told me that it was a costume. Well, of course it's a costume. I mean, it's a costume. That's the end of it. And if you have an issue with that costume, then something is wrong with you. You're the problem. You're emotional. You're woke. Like Deneen said, you can't take a joke. Remember, anytime you have a problem with any of these kind of issues, it is you who is the problem because you happen to exist. You're the problem. As long as we all understand that, I guess we understand America. Gadsden County is located in rural North Florida, along the Georgia border, and has a black population of 55%, one of the highest in the state. So there you go. And they have a KKK member dancing around as their, county commissioner. I have to question black people in the South about their love of racism. There are some black people voting to put these people in a place that's 55% black. There are some black people voting to put these people in. Remember, the person that they interviewed was a black DeSantis supporter. So there are some black people that are just that brain damaged that they cannot operate without the approval and the affection of some Confederates. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, as weird as that sounds, I mean, it's what the evidence is showing. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Otherwise, I don't know what to say. When DeSantis appointed Moore, he was the only non-black member of the county commission. So now that's interesting that Ron DeSantis had to make sure that white people were represented. I'm not surprised Governor DeSantis would appoint someone with this ideology, said President of NAACP Tallahassee chapter, Mudaki Akbar. Even if they didn't know about the picture, it's the kind of person I can see him picking. And I have to agree with that. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. But I agree with that. I tend to agree with that. So now we have more things that don't happen, more things that don't exist. Because remember, the United States is not a racist country. None of this stuff is true. It's all just made up. And if you actually pay attention to it or if you question it, you're woke. A Mississippi man burned a cross in a hate crime, the U.S. Justice Department alleges. Again, this is an article from September 27th of 2022. So again, this is something that happened fairly recently, but remember, this doesn't affect anybody that's alive today. So what this basically means is that anybody who was affected by this died on September 27th, and there's nobody alive currently that was affected by this because racism doesn't affect anybody that's alive today. This is all made up. A Mississippi man burned a cross in a hate crime. But remember, people like Ron DeSantis, these are just good Christian, God-fearing people. Burning a cross is a sign of, if you fear God or not. You know what I'm saying? At least according to him. I don't know how that works. I cannot be certain as to how much sense that makes. But that's what we're dealing with right here, right now. How many people heard about this? If you guys heard about this, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't hear about it, give me a thumbs down. A Mississippi man has been charged with a federal hate crime and arson violations after he burned a cross in his front yard in order to threaten and intimidate a black family, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Now, if you listen to right-wing propaganda, if you listen to all of the conservative stuff, they'll say that the black family did it and that it's fake, and that these are crisis actors, and that this is just a good white man who didn't do anything wrong ever, that's being just arbitrarily targeted because of the lack of color of his skin. Axel C. Cox, who is 23, is charged with 1 count of criminal interference with the right to fair housing and 1 count of using fire to commit a federal felony in connection with the alleged cross burning. According to court documents obtained by NPR, Cox burned a cross in his front yard on December 3rd of 2020 and used threatening and racially derogatory remarks toward his black neighbors. Now, remember, this doesn't happen ever. Facts, Deneen. We're all perpetual victims that don't do what it takes to succeed. Every single one of us. And remember, shout out to the Crimecast Channel. We're the only ones that commit crimes. Cox chose to burn the cross in front of his black neighbors because of their race, according to the Justice Department. Cox's actions of burning the cross, federal prosecutors say, fall under the Civil Rights Act of 1968, sections which are called Fair Housing Act, which prohibits discrimination against a person's housing rights based on the individual's race, religion, national origin, sex, or family status, which pay very close attention to this. None of this has anything to do with dealing with anybody exclusively black, not like the AAPI hate crime bill, where there's specific exclusions to how you get punished based on having anti-Asian hate. Now, remember, the issue with the Civil Rights Act is that this came right out of the prime of where anti-black racism was a law. It was United States law to practice anti-black racism. Yeah, we got open carry in Ohio. Ohio has like those Southern gun laws. We got the Castle Doctrine and all that. We like one of the only states in the North that has all of that. So now here it says the way hate crimes occur and how they are occurring in our community doesn't look the exact same as it did many decades ago, but the impact is the same. Rachel Coral Rivers, interim Deputy Director of Research and Analysis for the SPLC Intelligence Project, told the NPR. And let me tell you guys something about the SPLC. The SPLC is an anti-Black J organization that attempts to take all racist narratives and utilize them to push forward their agendas while they harbor the same anti-Black racism as everybody else. The SPLC and the ADL are nothing. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you saw some G shit from somewhere in Ohio. It's some crazy shit be going down in Ohio, but Ohio don't really get a lot of media coverage, but it'd be some wild shit going on in Ohio. Still today, this is unfortunately neither a new problem nor a problem that has gone away completely, she added. If convicted, Cox will face up to 10 years in prison for violating his neighbor's housing rights and a mandatory minimum of 10 years behind bars for using fire to commit a federal felony. He also faces a $250,000 fine with respect to each charge, the Justice Department said in a statement. So now then they go on to talk about the cross burnings, and this is for white people who act like they don't know about the history of what their grandparents and great grandparents were doing in the South. We all know what cross burning is. You know what I'm saying? You ask them, they'll say that it's state rights. State rights and Southern pride. You know what I'm saying? Cross burning, also referred to as a cross lighting, is considered a hate symbol, often associated with the KKK since the early 1900s, which, again, racism doesn't affect anybody that's alive today. The only problem is that there's still black people alive from the 1900s. For people who are allegedly, per the last stream, inherently more intelligent, it seems like the arithmetic skills are lacking. You know what I'm saying? In the 2014 interview, David Cunningham, author of Klansville, sounds like Whiteville, where that guy was a cop at, USA, told Fresh Air's Terry Gross that the Klan's act of burning crosses was a symbol of intimidation and terror. The crosses they burned were often 60 or 70 feet high, so these are enormous crosses they were burning. In itself, they were just a symbol of how ambitious the Klan's organization was, said Cunningham. So the act of this enormous cross burning became an act of compelling theater and also sort of a signal that the Klan was to accomplish organizationally, he added. Vangela M. Wade, president of Mississippi Center for Justice, told the Associated Press that modern-day cross burnings bring back the blatant racism associated with the Jim Crow South. So when white people attempt this kind of symbolic racism, all it is an attempt to try to tap into your psychological damage, which, remember, your psychological damage doesn't exist because racism doesn't exist. None of this ever happened. But they're attempting to tap into it, which is the reason why they're doing it, because of intimidation. They're attempting to bring some kind of post-traumatic stress syndrome type effects to have black people intimidated, which is one of the reasons why black people should never be intimidated by clown face supremacy. You laugh at clowns, you don't take them serious. You know what I'm saying? This is another stark reminder of how bigotry, racism, and hate-fueled violence are alive and well in our country. Mississippi is no exception, Wade told AP. And I mean, we know that by the purposeful starvation of the people in Mississippi by the United States completely ignoring the Jackson crisis. And shout out to everybody that's answering the Nightbot. Appreciate you guys. So remember, we're just going to act like this doesn't happen. Yeah, I think so. Hey, Mr. Knickerbocker, don't you go to jail for attempted murder and attempted robbery, etc.? Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure those are crimes. With the rise in hate crimes and hate incidents, federal and state officials are taking new steps when it comes to reporting bias incidents. Yeah, like not reporting them at all. Or like continuing to ignore the necessity for a black AAPI or a black FBA hate crime act. Shout out to my man DJ over on Twitch. DJ says, I went to St. Louis via Greyhound back in 2017. We passed through Ohio on a pit stop. The bus driver gave us a PSA announcement about Ohio. It's real over there. Yeah. Especially not so much like in the metropolitan areas like Northeast Ohio. I mean, it's just different. But when you're talking about like those areas like below Columbus, like the southern part of Ohio where the people have southern accents, yeah, it's the same as the South. Right. Kamala and Tim Scott said we're not a racist country, so that means it's true. Right. So now here it says in May, the Justice Department announced a series of new guidelines and $10 million in new federal grants to help states develop hotlines for reporting incidents. Now, I find that fascinating. They didn't give this $10 million to any black think tanks. They didn't give this $10 million to any black organization that could be possibly, developing methods to report anti-black racism. They gave these federal grants to the states, who the states hire the anti-black police officers. So, make that make sense. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to my man Edward Berry for the $1.99 super chat. Y'all already know that means that black lights will stay on for another day, and we will be streaming another day. So everybody make sure y'all show some love, drop some radiation emojis to my man Edward Berry. You know what I'm saying? For the $1.99 super chat. Additionally, the Justice Department issued new guidance with the Department of the Health and Human Services aimed at raising awareness of hate crimes during the C-19 pandemic. So now we've shifted away from black people and we're talking about AAPI, because if we're talking about the C-19 pandemic, then we're talking about AAPI. You know what I'm saying? Now, as far as the rise of hate crimes during the C-19 pandemic, if you guys saw that stream that I did about this, it was actually black people who had the highest increase of hate crime incidents that occurred. But nothing was done. So now you got to ask yourself the question. We make all of this content, we show all of these facts, and you still have people like Tiffany Cross on MSNBC saying that, don't listen to the people that you listen to online for your news. Fall in line and listen to us. Well, if you fall in line and listen to them, you'll be outlined in chalk. Those are the lines that they want you to fall into, the chalk lines. So now here it says, as the U.S. experienced a surge of hate crimes and hate incidents against Asian Americans, Native, Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. So now we're talking about a cross burning, and all of us, and NPR found a way to shoehorn in the AAPI issues, which even still during the COVID-19 pandemic, as we saw when we showed the data, it was the black population that had the highest incident of hate crime increase during the C-19 pandemic. So pay very close attention to that. Throughout our history and to this day, hate crimes have a singular impact because of the terror and fear they inflict on entire communities, said Attorney General Merrick Garland in a news release. In August, Maryland officials launched an alert system to flag racist incidents and acts of hate. So now what you have with this is that you'll have a bunch of white people, anytime black people get in a fight with somebody, saying, look, there's a racist black person acting like they're crazy. And then they'll prosecute them like what you see in New York, and it'll be all over the New York Post. And that's what you'll see. And that's what'll be done, because in most cases, black people don't even know about this. How many people knew about the Emmett Till alert system? Nobody. Probably nobody knew about this. How many people knew about the Emmett Till alert system? Is that something that you can flick on your iPhone? I don't know. I never heard of it. But apparently it's something that exists. The Emmett Till alert system, named in honor of the 14-year-old who was abducted, tortured, and killed in 1955 after being accused of whistling at a white woman, which is not a crime, will act as a warning system if credible threats are made. So what is credible? If we assume that they're non-woke, what does credible mean? If a white person has to make sure that it's, yeah, I've looked at it and this is racist. What do they mean credible? I mean, based on the assessments, it's taken weeks, months, actually years to determine if that phone call that was in that sheriff's voice is credible. So what's credible? I wish I had the answer, because I don't. The warning system will notify black leaders across Maryland of any credible racist incidents or hate crimes that take place anywhere in the state. How about notify the police if the police are actually doing their jobs? What are black leaders across Maryland going to do if a hate crime is taking place? Shouldn't those be diverted to the authorities if they're actual authority? Once a hate crime or racist incident is reported, a team of people will determine whether an alert should be sent. Again, if a crime is reported, shouldn't there be people sent to the scene like law enforcement? So again, this is shoddy. This is nonsense. This is just bullshit. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Emmett Till alerts will be sent to 167 black elected statewide officials in Maryland, along with the National Civil Rights Organization, clergy members, and leaders. Basically, people that don't have guns, people that don't have tasers, people that don't have handcuffs, people that can't do anything about an active hate crime in progress. So what's the point of this? This is something that should be roasted, just like that cross. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to figure out what is going to be done. How is that going to help anything? Does that make any sense whatsoever? I mean, congratulations. We told the minister. We told the clergy, man, that a hate crime is about to happen. Oh, there go a hate crime about to happen. Now who gonna go take care of it? Ridiculous. So that's just some stuff for you guys to think about. And as long as while you're thinking about it, you remember that none of this, is an issue. This doesn't affect anybody that's alive today. Then you'll be able to sleep a little bit easier at night. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, players and pimps, just remember that every time you cash a paycheck, you're cashing it because if you go woke, you go broke in the United States Corporation of Apartheid. Peace.